Ben, I'm going to give you an N-word pass. Just say it. Just get it off your chest. You'll get that. That's what it means, right? Like an ignorant black person.
Pulling the race card and playing the victim. That is despicable. That is pathetic. And it is a blatant contradiction of basically everything Candace Owens ever claimed to believe or made her career around. Up next, guys, we got to check in with friend of the show, Candace Owens. Of course, I say that sarcastically. She is the alternative podcast star and YouTube conspiracy theorist who has made quite the name for herself, still draws huge audiences. But we have to talk a little bit of Candace Owens' lore and a little bit about her ongoing beef with the conservative commentator and pundit Ben Shapiro, who, of course, co-founded the Daily Wire, where Candace used to work, and now they have this long-running feud, because it's just, I'm sorry, it's all getting so unserious, and Candace Owens is being incredibly hypocritical with the way that she is responding to the latest bout of criticism from Shapiro, and then Shapiro-aligned people. So maybe it's staff at Daily Wire, maybe it's just people who support him and don't like Candace online, but they've all decided to start like mocking Candace in a way that I have to admit I do find funny. Candace has this thing, and I say this as somebody who's watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of Candace Owens because I watch full episodes to research this show and to commentate on her. I don't just watch clips and snippets. She does have a recurring problem where she like egregiously mispronounces words, and she does the same words over and over again. So it's not like a one-time tick. She does do her show live, and listen, it's normal to mispronounce things when you're reading things, but there's some words she just clearly does not know how to pronounce miscorrectly. It's not like she's misspeaking because she does it over and over and over again. And at some point recently, people started mocking her for this. They even created a Twitter account called Candace Owens Trying to Read. And I have to be honest, I find this account really quite funny. And they keep putting out videos that show her struggling to read and pronounce basic words. And I put together a little compilation of them for you that I just do find hysterical. Listen to this.
But really, it was about the architecture. He just liked the architecture. He loved the architecture. It'd be like, yeah, no, like he loved the architecture of things. If you can't compartmentalize, but you have to be able to compartmentalize that. And we have to compartmentalize. Obviously, that's pretty reminiscent. Yeah, it's eerily reminiscent of a man. And this is reminiscent to me of when I looked.
Oh my, Candace Owens versus the dictionary. The dictionary is winning. I don't know what else to say about that. It is kind of embarrassing. It's obviously not the end of the world. We all mispronounce things sometimes, but it's the same words over and over again, which suggests she's not just misspeaking, but that she actually does not know the correct pronunciation of some of these words. And I would say that's not great. But obviously it's like, the real criticisms of her are not this. It's not that she mispronounces words sometimes. It's that she makes extraordinary claims without any evidence at all, let alone extraordinary evidence, and that she makes massive factual errors, like all the Egyptian plane data that she got wrong and never corrected or updated, or the time that she thought that the text messages were Discord messages that didn't exist, and it was actually text messages, and very clearly laid out in the indictment she clearly didn't bother to read, despite doing this whole series about how Charlie Kirk's killer, who's being prosecuted for the crime, didn't actually do it. She wasn't familiar with the basic details of the case against him. So she makes much more serious mistakes, but people are just trolling her. They're making fun of her, and it's very clearly getting under her skin based on the way that she's responding, that I have to say is just so hypocritical if you know the lore of Candace Owens. We're going to get into it, but first do make sure to subscribe, to hit the like button if you haven't yet. Please do consider becoming a channel member here on YouTube to support my content. It really helps me. I try to call out the far left and the far right, but the easiest way to blow up on YouTube and make millions and become have millions of followers is to just pander to the left or right. I call out BS on both sides, so I need support from viewers like you. And if you do join at the link in the description or hit the join button, then you will unlock access to early, full-length, ad-free episodes with disabled mid-rolls, so no annoying YouTube ads in the middle of my sentences. Go ahead and become a channel member to support my content now. And now let's look at just a video that Ben Shapiro put out where he was kind of joking about some of this stuff that I think clearly got under her skin based on a rant that Candace decided to then go on her show about the people making fun of her terrible pronunciation skills. Listen to Ben Shapiro.
I don't know. Maybe we should have a discussion about the temperature at which ice freezes. Or maybe we can talk about various German terms and their proper pronunciation, like Blitzkrieg. I will admit, I will freely admit that I did make a few jokes around the office about other Nazi breakfast foods besides Blitzkrieg's, which may include Luftwaffles. Candace also interviewed Bassem Youssef and told him she thinks something bad happened in your childhood because you fixate and lack empathy. Man, so much projection. Oh my goodness. What? Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. All right, whatever, man. Whatever.
So look, obviously he's throwing a little bit of shade her way, but considering the things she said about him, I didn't really think this represented some enormous escalation or some huge personal attack. But Candace was very unhappy about this, and she decided the way to respond to Ben Shapiro, making fun of her not knowing how to pronounce words, and others in his camp kind of taking the same line of criticism against her, was to, one, be low-key anti-Semitic, actually high-key anti-Semitic, and two, cry racism and play the victim, and even suggest that people making fun of how she pronounces words incorrectly is akin to them wanting to call her the N-word. Seriously, watch Candace Owens playing the victim. Let's watch.
And so because they're like running out of things to say about me, their new push is just that I'm stupid. Candace is dumb. She's really stupid. She mispronounced a word. We're going to scroll through 300 episodes. And look, she meant to say revelations, but she said relevations. She's ignorant because this is their new thing. Candace is an idiot. Ask himself a question so he can answer it. And I love that it's kind of their natural route too, because like when you start to learn like the real history behind the slave trade, Benny boy, I'm ignorant, but not that ignorant. And you know, he just so badly just wants to hard R it. Like that they're at the point now where they're like, how could we basically just like call her the N-word, but like not fall into like just saying the N-word? Like I don't want to be Nick Fuentes, but like, Ben, I'm going to give you an N-word pass. Just say it. Just get it off your chest. You'll give it. That's what it means, right? Like an ignorant black person. Stop having people scroll through every second of my show trying to find me mispronouncing words or, I'm sorry, I don't speak German. Blitzkrieg. Just get it off your chest, Ben. Just hard R it. That's what you're feeling right now.
I'm a little stunned. Obviously, I've watched that clip already, but I'm still kind of stunned by the audacity of this bitch to actually be like, people criticizing my pronunciation of words incorrectly, my mispronunciations, or calling me dumb or stupid. They really just want to call me the N-word. And I'm sorry, she's like, scrolling through hundreds of hours of my podcast to find me. They don't have to scroll that hard, babe. They really do not have to scroll that hard. I say this as a regular Candace Owens viewer and listener. She mispronounces words frequently. They are not having to dig this up from years ago, okay? Now, it is true, and I do have some sympathy for somebody who you could find clips of me if you go through and mispronouncing words. It is just kind of a occupational hazard of somebody who does what we do and talks all day and talks, especially if you do your shows live, like Candace does. So I don't even think it's the biggest deal in the world that she mispronounces words sometimes. It doesn't make her arguments or points wrong, but I'm sorry, you can't do this victim shit. Candace Owens literally made her name in politics and media as the black woman telling black people to get over racism, telling them to stop being victims, criticizing Black Lives Matter, rejecting identity politics, all of this stuff. And I didn't always agree 100% with her, but I agreed with the general thrust of some of that message, to be sure. But now you have her here playing the victim, suggesting it's similar to calling her the N-word, to criticize her on the substance of her presentation and speaking and argumentation, which is literally her trade. So somebody makes specific criticisms of you and your work product, and you hide behind them with anti-Semitic implications and by pulling the race card and playing the victim. That is despicable. That is pathetic. And it is a blatant contradiction of basically everything Candace Owens ever claimed to believe or made her career around. So it's so funny. She spent years shaming people for playing the victim and rejecting identity politics, but then is the first to do it the second she faces criticism. Guys, if that doesn't remind you what a fraud this woman is and how flexible she is, she's constantly engaged in mental gymnastics worthy of a frickin' Olympic gold to just justify her position or defend herself. Whatever she needs to do, she will do it. And listen, I can have respect for people with lots of different beliefs and perspectives. Obviously, there's some limit, but they have to actually have beliefs, and they have to actually have principles and have a moral code and have things that they stand by. Even if I don't agree with those things, I can generally respect somebody who sticks to what they believe in and earnestly believes it. But Candace Owens is just a shapeshifter. She's just she will adapt and go with the flow, because at the end of the day, it's all just about Candace Owens, really, and what is useful and convenient to her in the moment and what will promote her and get her more attention. And there's just no clearer example of the fact that she will go to any depths. She has no shame whatsoever to build your entire career. And that's not an exaggeration. This was foundational to everything she did that got her off the ground, shaming Black people in general, making fun of people who claim about have concerns about racism or think they're victims. And again, I didn't always agree with the extent she took it to, but I certainly agree with some of the over-victimization and woe is me victim mentality and the invocation of identity politics instead of making arguments. I agree with those criticisms of a lot of people, not just Black people, but a lot of people who fell victim to kind of woke ideology over the last decade or so. But then here she is doing the same exact thing she spent years criticizing and mocking people for. That, to me, should be an unforgivable sin, because her viewers should know that. They've been around for a while, a lot of them. They know that she said all this stuff in the past, and I'm sorry, but if she's willing to flip-flop on something that foundational to her career, the moment it is convenient, just to smear a critic as racist rather than refute his actual points or actually explain why it's okay that she doesn't know how to pronounce architecture. Oh my God. It's astonishing. It really is. And Candace somehow never ceases to amaze me. She's like the gift that it keeps on giving in terms of some new stupid shit every day to discuss or dissect. I mean, people are like, you're making a lot of videos about her lately. And I have been discussing her a little bit more than I plan to, but she keeps popping up with ridiculous things like not knowing the type of temperature that ice melts at and then acting like there's a weather conspiracy outside her house when really it's just not cold enough for the snow to melt. Like, if I was trying to write a script of like a parody of what Candace Owens was going to do next that would go viral and have people mocking her and I would want to talk about it, I kind of struggled to come up with something that was less ridiculous than what it's actually going to be at this rate. So I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you think. Do you agree with me that whether you find the criticism of Candace's pronunciations particularly compelling, and I don't, I just find it funny, but I agree it's not actually that big a substantive rebuttal of any of her ideas. But the victimhood, the spurious accusations of racism, the using your identity as a shield, smearing your opponents as bigots rather than making arguments, all of it is so woke. And it is so hypocritical for Candace Owens, of all people, to resort to those tactics. She truly has no shame. That's my take, but you guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Do make sure to subscribe, hit the like button if you haven't yet, and do consider becoming a channel member to support my work. Hit the join button down below or the link in the description, all of that. Quickly, we're going to check in as well with J.D. Vance, the vice president, who's coming under serious scrutiny because he's refusing to apologize for the remarks he made about Alex Priddy, who was, of course, the man killed by ICE officers after an altercation in Minnesota. Now, we now know that he was an agitator. He was one of these observer activists who had confrontations with ICE, but in the actual incident in which he was killed, he did seem to not attack the ICE officers, and we could have a whole debate about that shooting. I actually did on my other channel where I'm doing panel debates. I moderated a conversation between Actual Justice Warrior and Destiny about it. But I will say this. He was not Alex Priddy, whether you think the shooting was justified or not. And I think it was probably not justified, but the court system will have to work that out eventually. He wasn't a domestic terrorist. He wasn't an assassin. Yet that's what Stephen Miller, the White House advisor, posted on social media with absolutely no evidence immediately after Alex was shot. He posted a tweet that said, quote, "An assassin tried to murder federal agents." That's how he characterized the events that led to Alex Priddy's death. And the vice president of the United States, J.D. Vance, shared that message. He reposted it on Twitter. That's a big deal. So you have the vice president. You're not talking about a random congressman, okay? This is the number 2 to the most powerful person in the world. And you are co-signing this message about a man who just died, calling him an assassin and saying that he set out that day to murder federal agents, even though he never drew his gun, he never attacked them. He stepped in to try to help a woman. And whether you think that was wrong and misguided, I definitely think he shouldn't have done that. He did not try to kill anyone, and that strains credulity beyond belief. Anyway, though, a Daily Mail reporter just did an interview with J.D. Vance where he asked him about this instance, this commentary that he shared on social media after Alex Pretty's death. And J.D. was like, no, I don't apologize. Seriously, watch this.
Have you apologized? Did you plan to apologize to the family of Alex Pretty?
For what?
For, labeling him an assassin with ill intent.
Well, again, I just described to you what I said about Alex Pretty, which is that he's a guy who showed up with ill intent to an ICE protest.
No, but if it's determined that his civil rights were violated by this FBI investigation, will you apologize to that?
So, if this hypothetical leads to that hypothetical leads to another hypothetical,
it's a real case.
Will I do a thing?
Wow. So the full interview is not released yet. That's just a snippet, and I look forward to seeing more context of what he had to say here. But yeah, you actually should apologize, Vice President Vance, that a man was killed, and before any facts or evidence were in, you shared on social media a post by another White House official calling him an assassin and suggesting, which is not true, and there was no basis for believing, that he set out that day with the intention to kill federal officers. You lied about an American citizen while his body was still warm after he'd just been killed. Even if you potentially think the shooting is legally justified or what have you, that is still a pretty horrible thing to do. And you do owe his family an apology. I'm sorry, not sorry. That's the bare minimum you could do, having lied about their family member who was just killed. In a world where we had any sort of decency or civility left, one, vice presidents should not be retweeting hot takes about breaking news of Americans that were just killed. And two, when they do put out inaccurate information, whether it's Vice President Vance or it's Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary, God forbid you take accountability and apologize. I know that's so out of fashion these days that people are just like, it's a foreign concept to them, but it really would be nice to see for once. Have a little bit of decency. I don't know. I guess that's too much to expect these days, but what do you guys think? You'll have to let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button and all of that.